Ladies and gentlemen of the OG, and anybody else watching across the annals of YouTube, welcome to Now Watch Me Flex from the clan OGTT, here to play a little bit of Path of Exile, which is a free-to-play game that I saw on Reddit when people were debating whether or not they would go back to Diablo 3. Someone brought up this game, Path of Exile, as a alternative to people that were interested in playing Diablo 2, as the conversation turned to everybody wanting to, do Andario runs and Mephisto runs, and, that game being out for as long as it has, and still being a game that many people, including myself, like to go back to and play quite often, as opposed to what Diablo 3 is now. Path of Exile allows for an amazing experience that's very similar to D2, and as I'm playing through this, you'll see a lot of similarities as far as quests and even enemy development, but it is different enough to be its own positive game. So we're going to log in here. I've already got two characters. This one here got me banned for a bit, so they were going to make me change my name. I do also have a level 28 duelist here named Jaime Lannister, and I'm sure anybody who's a Game of Thrones fan is probably going to notice that Jaime Lannister isn't spelled right. Well, obviously, being a duelist, there are a lot of motherfuckers who took my goddamn name, essentially. So I had to mess it up a little bit to try to get it to work, and that's what I went with. So we're going to create a new character here, but I just want to show you some things. They do have the default, which is just, playing through. Then they also have the hardcore mode, which everybody who's ever played an action role-playing game is familiar with hardcore mode. One die and you're out. There's a 1 month party, which is just, you see how far you can get in a single month, and then the winner gets prizes and things like that. And if there's a tie at the end, there's actually a PvP, so that actually is pretty cool. And there's also 3-hour seasons. Just to see how far you can get in 3 hours, and then you duel it out. So we're going to just we're going to go hardcore. We're going to go hardcore. So I'm going to create a character here. Let me show you some of the options for character class development. There's the Templar, who is essentially an old naked man with wrinkly balls, and I'm sure the name Heihachi has been taken a million times from people, but the good thing about this game, and I'll show you, is that there isn't a single set class that you have to choose. For example, a Templar, you can be a bow Templar if you wanted to be, and you could be a bow witch or a bow ranger. So but this is the Templar. If you've had time to read that, go ahead. Then we have the Shadow, which is essentially the assassin, the claw user, and the knife dagger wielder. And essentially, even though everybody can be every class, you do want to kind of pick a class that's relative to what you're looking to play because of where you start in the passive tree, and we'll get there later on. But this is your trap, your shadow, your assassin. So that's actually going to come in my butt as a shadow, and I was going to make him a trap assassin with critical hit chance and lightning and all sorts of things. But then you got your Marauder, your basic berserker. Looks nothing like Conan the Barbarian, which is unfortunate, but he's got tattoos on his knees, which is an awful place for a tattoo. But, for you faggots who don't know how to play anything other than a guy who stands in the middle and clicks the button to swing a big heavy weapon, this is your go-to guy. You've got your ranger, your Amazon, or your archer, your demon hunter, whatever you want to call her, but she's pretty hot. I'd bang her. I would. You have your duelist, which is my Jaime Lannister. Was I supposed to bear such insults with an action simply because of his has moves like the riposte and the counter, and I actually went sword shield, but I'm starting to think that was a bad move, and that I should have just gone evasiveness and things along those lines. But no biggie, no biggie, no biggie. Then you have your witch, your sorcerer, whatever you want to call her. She is the one that's closest to the necromancer passive tree trait as well. So. But oh boy, I think we're going to go with the Ranger for this, simply because I want to do her in the butt. She's pretty hot. So, thinking of a name, I think we're going to go And if anybody has taken that, I will be very much surprised. Alright, so you're thrown off the boat, you're thrown onto an island. You wake up here and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? It kind of gives you the butt weapon you're going to start out with, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that and then talk to this Exile. He's actually going to get eaten here in a minute. But we're going to speed through this if you're interested in the storyline. Obviously, download the game and play it yourself, but he gives you wham, and then you get your first item in the game. Now, let me explain items for you, skills. It's not like Diablo 2 in the fact that there's the skill tree where you just pick the skills that you want to use, and then you attribute them to the left button or the right button or whatever. And then use them. Your skills are actually going to be these gems, which fit into the color-coded slots in pretty much every item in the game, except for obviously the rings and the amulets. But just as an example, this will give me the ability to fire an arrow. Now it says require level 1, and it has its little experience bar there. This is 1 out of 70, and that actually is going to level up. So your skills will level up based on having them equipped. And so right now it's just a level 1 attack, and it only requires level 1, and when I put it on, it'll give me the benefit of using it, and it'll absorb my mana when I use it. But the more I use it, then the stronger that it actually gets. So I can use it, and if I have this specific one equipped all the way to the end game, then obviously this specific gem is going to get incredibly powerful. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to attribute it to this bow right here. And the good thing about this game as opposed to Diablo is there isn't a penalty for having to remove the gem. If I don't want the gem there, I simply right-click it and I can put it back, or I can put it in any other piece of equipment. Now, just out of curiosity, I want to see if I'm still muted. Yeah. So I'm muted for 22 more hours, so you're not going to see me talking to anybody. Now, this is the Scroll of Wisdom, which is basically the unidentified scroll, and it identifies an item. However, it's also the only form of, one of the forms of currency. There is no gold in this game, silver, copper, bronze, anything like that. It's Scrolls of Wisdom and then an assortment of different orbs that have different effects. For example, this item that I have now is just a normal item. But one of the pieces of currency that you get from trading in other items would be something called an Orb of Transmutation, which allows a normal item to then become a magic item, and then there are other items that would allow a normal item to become a random item with a rare value and things along those lines. So for right now, obviously, as a level 1 hardcore character, I don't really need anything special. So we're going to close this, and we're going to get to the first town. So we need to get to what would essentially be the rogue encampment. Here's the first enemy we're coming across, little sand spitters, or your quill rats, if you will. But as an archer, we're just going to, keep our distance, as any good archer would, and we're just going to take them out from a distance. So wham, bam, bam. These are your zombies, so right off the bat, you see a similarity to Diablo 2. Now, unfortunately, the game doesn't zoom out any more than what I'm at right now, and if you're just starting the game, you'll probably see that you're a lot closer when you're zoomed in. And, I wish I could be out even more, but this is as far out as it goes. So we're just going to leave it at that. But I do need a hat so I can go all Boba Fett. And actually, we're going to turn on mouse wheel zoom here so that I can zoom in and out on my character so you guys can get a look at her. Oh, yeah, I do her. Alright, so I'm not going to pick up any of those items because the only thing that you're going to get is scraps for a Scroll of Wisdom for them, and I'm not interested in those. But we do need to overpower ourselves as we go into a hardcore world, so dying is a little bit easier than you might think. So we're going to just kill as many things as we can as we go along here, and hopefully I can get a level up, show you guys the passive skill tree here. And having played 2 melee characters, I'm kind of noticing that the archer being able to just keep its distance, it's pretty overpowered here, especially if I can get there's an example of identifying an item. No big deal. Now this one has two different sockets, and notice that the sockets here are connected. That is actually going to be a support socket, which means if I have a skill in this left one, a red skill, so let's just say double strike, which allows me to attack with both weapons in my left and right hand consecutively in one attack. And then in the blue one, I have increased attack speed or a life leech. That life leech, which would go into this blue one, would only be in use when I use the skill that's in the red one. Otherwise, if I just put, as a random example, a life leech into this socket, it would not work. It would not affect any of my regular attacks. It would level up for the time when I could put it into a socketed weapon, and there are actually items that will connect sockets in items, but for right now I don't have one. So we're just going to leave it as is. Another thing I want to talk to you about real quick is the potion system in this game. It isn't like Diablo 2 where you have to purchase all of your potions that you want to use beforehand and then slot them in your inventory based on your belt size and things like that. Instead, it actually has a really nice system of here where I have 2 life potions here and 2 mana potions, and I can switch them out with other potions that you have. And there will be potions like increased speed and then the different resistances so that you can mix and match, but you don't actually have to fill them up at all. They fill up automatically as you kill enemies. So if I use it right there, you see it goes down a little bit, and my life goes up 60 life over 6 seconds. And then if I want to fill it back up again, I simply kill enemies, and it gains charges. And then the more enemies you kill, obviously, the faster it recharges. And the bigger the life, the more you get back, the harder it is to refill the charges. But there are also, which is nice, magic item flasks that allow for different things, different effects, such as 50% better chance of critical strike while this item is in effect, things along that line. So I have leveled up, so we're going to show you the passive skill tree here. Now this is the entire passive skill tree, which kind of brings back memories of Final Fantasy X. But the cool thing about this, we're going to start here because this is us. This gives us our intelligence and our strength and our dexterity. And now we have to start building our path. Where are we going to go with our character, and what skills do we want to focus on? So obviously, if I wanted to focus on this burning arrow, I would obviously have to go to a dexterity path, which would allow me to have higher damage, as well as a higher chance to hit from a distance, maybe even increase attack speed so that I can shoot more arrows. Now, these small circles that you get to, and you get 1 point, and you do have refund skills if you accidentally clicked, and you can go back. But if I want to start up my path, I want to plan it out here. The small circles here are going to be just your basic smaller increases. They increase attack speed, 10 to dexterity, 10 to dexterity, 10 to dexterity. Now these bigger ones here, surrounded in the little orange halo, are better skills to develop. This one gives me 15% increased projectile damage, so anytime I use a bow or throwing knives or anything like that, boom, I get 15% extra damage. And then it allows me to go this way if I want to go, to give me more melee damage, which obviously I don't want to. This way, which gives me more bow damage and increased attack speed with bows, and then boom, 18% increased physical damage with bows. And so you go along these trees, and you do get skill books a lot more often than Diablo 2, so you will get pretty far along these tree branches. And then out here, these big, huge ones, these are the ones that you really want to kind of build your build for your character around. Phase acrobatics, which allows me to dodge spells, mixed with acrobatics, which allows me to dodge attacks. Now you're probably seeing all armor and energy shield, and you're saying to yourself, now watch me flex, what the fuck is an energy shield? Well, motherfucker, let me tell you what an energy shield is. This game went full on Halo, and it allows you to actually have an energy shield that shows up right here, which protects your life and is fully rechargeable. So the higher you put that, you don't have to focus on life so much if you want to focus on your energy shield, which will protect your life. And there are skills as well that puts life leech to your shield as opposed to your life. So the customization in this is incredible. So Necromantic Aegis, all bonuses from a shield apply to your minions, Conduit, all of these. It's unbelievable how in-depth this game can go. So we're going to start. We're going to try to get this one here. This is where we're going to focus on. This is going to be my critical strike multiplier, and I want my arrows to do just a shit ton of damage often. So how are we going to get there? I can go two paths. Obviously, I can go down here and come up and get into here, or I can come from the top and work my way down. And I'm actually going to do that because I want this increased attack speed. I like how it looks. So we'll apply that, and boom, there you go.